Hey guys, today we're going to cover topic 5.2, triangle midsegment. A midsegment of a triangle is a segment connecting the midpoints of two sides of the triangles. So our midsegment here would be segment DE. So as you can see, D is the midpoint of segment AB and E is the midpoint of segment BC. So both of those sides are getting split into two congruent segments. So the triangle midsegment theorem says that if a segment joins the midpoints of two sides of a triangle, then the segment is parallel to the third side and half as long. So our segment then is going to be parallel. So DE is going to be parallel to AC. So it's parallel to the side that it's not touching. And it's going to be half as long. So whatever AC is, so let's say AC is 10, DE would be 5. So here are the two things that we know then. We know that segment DE is parallel to AC, and we also know that DE is half of AC. Or another way we can write it is AC is twice as big as DE. For number one, we have to identify all pairs of parallel segments. So the first ones that I see, and it doesn't matter which one you list first, the first one that I see is WY and QR. Those are parallel. The next one that I see is XW and RS. And the third one that I see is XY and QS. For number 3, it says L, M, and N are midpoints of the sides. So these 3 points are all midpoints. Therefore, it's splitting all the sides into two congruent segments. And remember that the midsegment is half as long as the third side, the one it's parallel to. So it says that triangle PQR has PR with a length of 46. So from P to R, the length is 46. From P to Q, the length is 40. And from L to N, which is actually a midsegment, the length is 17. So we need to find part A, the length from L to M. Well, I know that LM, that's half as long as PR. So if PR is 46, then LM has to be 23. Next, to find MN, we look at PQ, because that's the line that it's parallel to. So PQ is 40, therefore NM has to be 20. And to find QR, that's twice as long as LN. So if LN is 17, then QR has to be 34. And lastly, we need to find MR. Well, MR is 17 because MR is half of the whole thing, and it's exactly the same length as the midsegment. Number 4 is very similar to number 3, so I'm going to go ahead and list all the information that it gave us. All right, so first we need to find CE. CE is twice as long as GH, so it has to be 14. Next, we need to find DE. Well, DE is twice as long as GF, so it has to be 18. Remember that you're only looking at the segment that it's parallel to. And to find FH, we look at CD. If CD is 24, FH is half of that. Therefore, we get 12. Part D wants us to find the perimeter of triangle CDE. Triangle CDE is the large triangle. So the whole thing, perimeter, you add up all the sides. Therefore, we do 14 plus 18 plus 24. You should get a perimeter of 56. All right, so for number 5, I need to find the value of X. So I see that it's giving me the midsegment and then some information on the side that it's parallel to. Okay, remember that the midsegment is half as long as that. Therefore, I can take 7x and multiply it by 2. And so now they can equal each other. And so at this point, it just became an algebraic equation where we can solve for x. I went ahead and subtracted the 17x to the left side. So I get negative 3x equals negative 18. And it doesn't really matter where you put the 17. You could have started with 17x minus 18 equals 2 times 7x. It gives you the same result at the end because a negative divided by a negative, you still get a positive value for your x. Number 6 is very similar to number 5 because the midsegment is half as long as this segment here, which is parallel to it. So I'm going to take 6x plus 31 and multiply it by 2 so that I can set them equal to each other. And so I get 12x plus 62. And again, I'm just solving for x. Here, I went ahead and subtracted the 12x over to the right side. And I get 7x is 98. So when I divide by 7, I get x equals 14. You're going to do the exact same thing we did on the last two for 7 and 8. So here we're just practicing on solving for x. And then once you find x, the only different thing here is that you need to plug it in because you need to find on number 7 DE, and on 8 you need to find RT. You should get x is 9. We get DE has a length of 37. We get x equals 4, but that's not my answer because now I'm going to plug it into RT. RT is 23x minus 6. Therefore, I'm going to replace my x with 4. And I get 86 for the length of RT. Find the perimeter of triangle JKL. Well, I can find JL because I'm just going to take 49 and multiply it by 2. I can also find JK by taking 42 and multiplying it by 2. So it looks like I'm going to have before I can find the length of KL. So remember, all I'm going to do is take my midsegment and multiply it by 2. So I get x equals 8. So all I'm going to do now is plug it into KL. So 13 times 8 minus 10. So if I'm trying to find the perimeter, I just take all my sides and add them together. 276. So now we're going to focus a little bit on the angles. I need to find angle 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's a few ways to approach this. And really, it doesn't matter where you start if you have options. So the very first thing I looked at was angle 2, because I know that those two angles make 180. So to find angle 2, I just subtract 127 from 180. Angle 1 is corresponding to angle 2. Therefore, it's going to also be 53 degrees. Corresponding means congruent. So the same thing applies to the angles on the other side. 59 degrees, so this angle is congruent to angle 4. They're corresponding, that means same location. So therefore, angle 4 is also 59 degrees. Also, I can see that angle 4 and 5 make a linear pair. So I take 180 minus 59 to get angle 5, and you get 121 degrees. And for angle 3, so you can just focus on that smaller triangle. If you add up all the angles, the sum should be 180. So 59 plus 53, and then subtract that from 180, and you get 68 degrees for angle 3. All right, for this next example, I'm also trying to find the measures of some angles. So the first thing I noticed was these two angles here, they make a linear pair. So 180 minus 118 gives you angle 1. So we get 62 degrees. Now I see that angle 1 is the exact same as angle 5. Those are corresponding, therefore angle 5 is also 62 degrees. And now I can find angle 2 because 62 plus 95, subtract that from 180, and you get the third angle for this smaller triangle. So we get 23 degrees for angle 2. That is the exact same as angle 4, so angle 4 is also 23 degrees. And angle 2 and 3 make a linear pair, so I know angle 2 is 23. If I do 180 minus 23, I get angle 3. And I get 157 degrees. All right, to find x on number 12, I have to first see what two angles I'm trying to use. So it looks like it gave me information about this angle and this one, and I know that those are corresponding, right? So they're equal. So in order to find x, I'm going to set those two expressions equal to each other. When you solve for x, you should get 5. So here, these two angles are what's called same side interior. And you know you have same side interior because it kind of makes a C shape, the letter C. So when you have that situation, those are supplementary. It means that they add up and equal 180. When you solve, you should get x is 13. For number 14, these are corresponding, so they're congruent. So I set them equal to each other. So when you solve for this, you get x is 9, and I'm just going to go ahead and write the answer as you see, because you should be able to have a pretty good idea now how to solve for x. So now I'm trying to find the measure of angle CBF, which is 9x plus 2. Although if you plugged it into the other one accidentally, it doesn't matter because they're congruent, they're the same. Either one you plug it into will give you the same answer. So you get 83 degrees. All right, and for number 15, as you can see, these are supplementary. They're same side interior angles. So we're going to add them up and we're going to set them equal to 180. You should get x is 25. And you're trying to find the measure of angle RTV, which is x plus 4. See here, it does matter which one you plug it into, so pay very close attention. So 25 plus 4, and you get 29 degrees. All right, guys, that concludes lesson 5.2. Thanks for watching.